Conference will now be recorded.
I'd like to call the Public Works and Protection Committee meeting on Tuesday, October 3rd, 2023. Roll call, please.
Carrie Paul.
Here.
Jake Krieger.
Here.
Kelly Service.
Here.
Joanne Euclid.
Here.
And John Burnett's excused.
Okay, Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I need a motion on action of the agenda.
Move to approve.
Second.
First, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Minutes from August 8th, 2023. Any corrections or additions? If not,
A move to approve. Second.
first and second, all in favor again?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Comments from the public must be limited to the items not on the agenda, must state name and address, limited to 5 minutes. Board rules to listen, not to discuss. Personal items cannot be discussed, nor individual names. Board is not able to take action at this meeting, and we have nobody on the screen, and you are on the agenda. Moving on, action items. Action A, action on appeal of denial operation license, Tammy Lepore. Patrick, are you first on this one?
Hey, Chris can introduce it there.
Oh, Chris, I'm sorry, you're the first one. Take her away, Chris.
Okay, so in the packet, you have the denial letter, the original application, and a letter from Tammy Lepore, along with letters from her probation parole agent and Hy-Vee, her employer. Ms. Lepore was denied by the Ashwaubenon Department of Public Safety for being a convicted felon as per Guideline 1 in the operator license approval policy, and she is here to speak.
Okay. Patrick, now you.
Excuse me. I can chime in, Gary, on this one. In speaking to background, speaking to the background or the convictions on this, in October 2015, there was a conviction or a plea to 2 counts of manufacturing delivery of narcotics. And then again in 2015, there was a conviction for second-degree reckless homicide. That was in Calumet County. The conviction dates were on that was September of 2015. So within 2 months, within several months, there was 2 counts of manufacturing delivery of narcotics, a plea of that, those 2 counts, and then several months later, the second-degree reckless homicide. There was a plea in Calumet County for that. My understanding, I believe that she's still on extended supervision, I think. There was a sentence of 8 years on the homicide case, 4 years in prison and 4 years on extended supervision. I believe that should be relatively soon coming up off of supervision on that case. There was a probation running consecutive on the other case. So my understanding, I believe she's still serving the sentence. Of course, not in prison, out, but on supervision. So the sentence is still running, but I believe it should be coming up fairly soon. Don't really know the details behind when she's going to be released, but according to just based on the prison imprisonment guidelines and the sentence itself, that it would be running soon. So with that and applying this to the adopted policy, so as the committee recalls that the village board adopted the policy in terms of an operator's license application. There are several areas that the board could consider for approval or denial. As far as these 3 convictions, she stands right now having 3 convictions of 2 related with drugs, and then 1 related to the second-degree reckless homicide. That is a basis for denial. They are substantially related to the licensing activity. So if the committee chooses to uphold the denial, there is a basis for denying because of the recent or previous felony convictions. According to the policy, what's before the committee tonight is to hear from Tammy and to review the documentations or the letters of like the mitigating circumstances from her agent or for her employer, and to weigh that against these convictions. What I wanted to remind the committee, though, is that she still is serving the sentence. I guess the convictions were in 2015, albeit they were somewhat dated. They were pretty significant felony drug convictions. I'd be speculating and kind of getting into the details. Based on what I'm seeing from the online records, I could maybe guess at what some of the details were or what the type of drugs, et cetera. Not necessarily sure if we need to get into that. I can only speculate with that because I haven't seen the criminal complaint. But regardless, the convictions themselves are substantially related to the licensing activity. So if there's any other questions regarding that specifics on her background, I'm happy to discuss that. Or if there's questions approving or denying, Joel and myself, we can discuss that as it relates to the policy. Otherwise, I know she's here in person and can speak with her.
Joel, do you want to run through the policies, please?
Certainly. So yeah, as Patrick had mentioned, we have several guidelines that are a basis for denial. Guideline number 1 is provided a basis for denial if the offense substantially relates to licensing activity, and it is a felony unless the individual has been duly pardoned or does not otherwise qualify for that purpose. With that, Patrick had mentioned there are 3 particular convictions that substantially relate, one of which is an exempt felony under the statute. So the committee and board, for that matter, do not need to take into consideration rehabilitative efforts that have been performed or completed by the applicant. 2 of the convictions do have that non-exempt status to them, so there is an opportunity for the committee to review that. If the committee decides to review and take into consideration the individual's appeal to the denial, the individual would need to provide substantial competent evidence of rehabilitation. There is some of those components within the appeal letter that was provided to you in your packet. And so the committee can certainly take those into consideration as it weighs whether or not to grant the appeal or uphold the denial as well. As with previous decisions regarding the operator licenses, the committee is providing a recommendation to the village board, to which point the village board would ultimately either uphold the denial or grant the appeal. So hopefully I answered some of those questions, but essentially you can hear from the applicant at this point and weigh the evidence that is being presented to you both in your packet as well as tonight for the record, and determine whether or not the individual has met the qualifications for the license as written in the policy.
Okay, has the committee got any questions here?
Nope.
Move to open the floor.
Second?
First and a second, open the floor, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Tammy, would you like to come up, speak? When you come on up, speak into the microphone, state your name and address, please.
Tammy Laper, 1332 Eastman Avenue, Apartment 2, Green Bay, Wisconsin, 54302.
Okay, Tammy, you want to explain your situation in your words?
I just discharged off of the reckless homicide in June. It was my best friend. I know I did wrong. I had to live with it. But I'm not that person anymore. I go to work every day, I pay my bills, take care of, it's me and my husband, we take care of our 2 cats. I hit rock bottom back then. I learned a lot about myself and the people that I don't want around me. And this would help me advance further in my career and my job. It's been been out 4 years. I haven't gotten in any trouble. I haven't had any dirty ways. Anything my agent asks me to do, I do it without second guessing why I need to do it. She calls me in for a drug test. I'm there within the time it takes me to drive there. I'm now 8 years sober.
Okay.
So Tammy, was it, not knowing all the background and not wanting to go into all your background, but do you feel that it was the circumstances and the people that you were around at the time that kind of, you headed in that direction?
It
And
was my best friend, and she was in pain, so I gave her my prescription medicine, which caused her death.
You speak in the microphone, please.
It was my medicine that I gave my best friend, and the ultimate price, she died from taking my prescription medicine.
so I mean, do you feel like at this point in your life, where are you looking to go? What are you looking to do? How are you looking to improve yourself? And, it's very apparent how this is very devastating to you. Get that. But where are you trying to get to as a person?
As a person, I'm every day striving to be better. I want to advance up higher in Hy-Vee. Right now, I'm a service manager. I want to continue to grow with the company and eventually one day run a store of my own.
All right. Girls, got some?
This was a hard one for me. I appreciate the fact that you're sober for 8 years and you're trying your best, but those are two severe cases. I think it says Class D felony and a Class E felony, correct?
I don't remember the classes, but I know.
Okay. And our village has a policy for 10 years. You have to be free of anything for 10 years. And I think we really have to respect that.
Say something? She holds 2 liquor licenses.
You want to come up and state your name and address?
Brian J. Laper, 1332 Eastman Avenue, Apartment 2. My wife holds 2 current liquor licenses right now from past jobs. She keeps advancing her career. It's just people make mistakes, and people do change, and she's changed. I mean, it's...
Those 2 liquor licenses, where are you using them? Where are you working for them?
Green Bay for the Dino Stop, and then in Ledgeview for Dino Stop on Cedar Hedge Lane.
Okay.
And I've never violated my liquor license. I'm always carding. You don't have an ID, you're not getting alcohol from me, is how I feel. That way it doesn't get into someone's hands that if they look old enough and, oh, I'm 21, I don't take anyone's word for it.
Okay.
Well, each municipality treats these a little different, so regardless if you have 2 liquor licenses from other communities, that doesn't affect us right now in our decision here on what we're doing. I think the felony is the big issue here. According to our rules that we got, the felony would be a denial, the way we're set up. And we got to take our orders from the guys in blue there. They do a lot of work in putting this all together, and I got to respect the job that they do too, to give us this information. So those are my 2 cents.
I struggled with this one too, but I'm kind of I believe in second chances, and I was persuaded by the letters from your manager and your parole officer that I'm inclined to approve her license.
Well, I want to make one statement on the parole officer before we make any motion here. I have talked to your parole officer. You're still under supervision until 2025.
For the second case.
for the second case.
I
So she is
discharged
still,
off the prison case already, sir.
pardon?
I discharged off the Calumet case in
One,
June.
but you're still under supervision for the
Yeah,
second one till
probation.
2025. And our rules do state that the felony that you have is a denial. You know, I understand, you know, I'm for giving a person second chance, but we have rules we've got to go by. And I wish I was a little more kind-hearted, but I got to go with what we have in our operation here, so.
Do you have anything else to share with us at this point?
No, I turned everything in that showed from my agent of what kind of person I am now.
Yeah, we see that. We understand it. You know, and we applaud that what you're doing and the direction that you're going. So, but if you have anything else, I'm going to make a motion to close the floor.
Second.
First and second to close the floor, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay.
Yeah, this is a very, very difficult one, and,
The felony is the big one.
yeah,
I almost think the fact that she's still under supervision helps us approve it, because we know she's going to be checking in with her parole officer regularly for this next year while she's working. So, I mean, it's a perfect transition if you want to find a way to approve it, to have a transition to unsupervised licensure.
If I may just interject a little bit with that thought, one of the conditions of approval on an appeal for denial is that the individual applicant would have to provide a copy of local, state, or federal release documents, and either a copy of the relevant Department of Correction documentation that shows they've completed their probation or supervision requirements prior to the issuance of a license. So based on current adopted policy, it kind of runs counter to that point, is that they would have to prove that they have completed their supervision requirements before a license would be issued. Yes, they have supervision, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they have completed the sentence requirements for that particular conviction. And that was the intent of that language within our policy, and also it complements Wisconsin State Statutes, Chapter 111.
yeah.
Right, and just kind of adding to that a little bit, what was stated earlier, she did serve the remainder of the sentence for the homicide charge, but she was sentenced to a consecutive sentence for the 2 drug felonies. So that's what's being currently, I guess, probation is in the sentence, but that's what she's still serving right now in relating to both of the convictions. Both cases, all 3 convictions, 2 different cases. So that probation was given a consecutive to the homicide. So while she served that out, she's still on probation for that. And why the policy, as Joel said, is kind of tailored towards that, is serving out your sentence or serving out your probation and being released. If the convictions are substantially related, that's another factor. It can show the committee or show the board that that I guess everything has been completed as far as the Department of Corrections and supervision for the convictions before that person applies for an alcohol license.
I think it'd be an easier decision if the supervision was over.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
So I'm going to uphold the denial and understand that I very much, it's difficult, but we try to do these different rules, and in this case, I just feel we need to uphold the denial because of everything that's still out there yet. I think if we get down there, get past 2025 and get that behind you, then yeah. But unfortunately, that's a year and a half down the road here. So I'm going to make the motion to uphold the denial.
Second.
First and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
1 opposed. Motion carried. Okay. Finish out your sentence. Okay, items for next agenda. Oh,
yeah.
you can, forgot, you can appeal at the village board on the 24th of October.
Right.
You can come back and appeal this.
So this is just
You've
a
got another chance.
This is just a subcommittee and then the entire village board, so you can come back and this will be on that agenda and you can state your case there. That would help for that one, but maybe talk to your agent about the discharge from the other one, which is in the future. If he could write you some sort of letter there, at least we'd have that information. But our rules are pretty clear on that, so.
Okay? Okay. Items for next agenda. Anybody got anything? Give it to staff. If nothing else, I'll obtain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much.